OK, I'm going to move on and take another question. Becky Marshall, where are you sitting? There you go, let's have your question.
Is it time for the UK government to join others around the world in calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza?
So, as things stand, unless it has changed while we are on air, there is a truce until tomorrow morning. And that's as far as we've got. Leila, I'm going to come to you, obviously, because you have extended family in Gaza. You've talked about that.
I've been dreading this question
before.
I've been.
Well, look, I'm not in any sense trying to put you on the spot here.
No, I know.
Or put you in a difficult position. I mean, if nothing else, can you tell us what the situation is with your family in Gaza?
Of course, no. But this is an important. I'm dreading it because every time I talk about it, it's.
Well, it's emotional.
I can't begin to describe what it's like. And the reason why. And I'm also Foreign Affairs spoke, so yes, it's deeply personal, but my professional and personal lives are completely one at the moment. And yes, to answer the question, because I think it needs direct answering, Liberal Democrats do think it is time for an immediate bilateral ceasefire. And the reason for that is because we need the killing to stop. This is a deep, horrific humanitarian crisis. It's already killed one member of my family, who, by the way, didn't die from a bomb. He died because he couldn't get access to medical help. They're in northern Gaza. We're Christian Palestinians. And he was dehydrated and old and frail, and they couldn't move from the north. Nowhere in Gaza is safe. And they died. And another one I've heard today, the update, is that the others are still there, and one is now really sick also because they're drinking contaminated water, because there was a choice made in the immediate aftermath of October the 7th by Israel to turn off the water. This isn't right. I'm not a lawyer. People are talking about international law and all that. This just is not right. We need to stop this level of devastation. But we also need to be clear. Hamas need to be gone. They need to be gone from Gaza. There is no future for the Palestinian state.
How do you get rid of them, Leila?
And we also need a two-state solution so that the dignity for Palestinians and security for Palestinians and Israelis is guaranteed. Now, how do you do that? Well, first of all, I'll point out the political leadership of Hamas is not in Gaza. They are in five-star hotels in Qatar. Yep. If you want to achieve this lasting peace, you do have to get rid of them, absolutely. But there is no military solution to this. We need to understand this now. The other thing you have to understand about Hamas is that they are as much an idea as they are an organisation. They are terrorists. They absolutely are terrorists. And if you want to get rid of an idea, the answer to that is you replace it with a better one. You replace it with hope. Okay. And all of you who are looking at the TV screens and at what are happening and saying to yourselves, this isn't right and we don't want this anymore, bear in mind, this has affected 4 generations of my family. This is not new. This has been happening in some form or another for 75 years. And just like in Northern Ireland, there came a point where the whole world, driven primarily by good people like yourselves, said, actually, this is not right. We need to now push our politicians. This is going to be hard. This is going to be one of the hardest things that politicians around the world have had to do in a very long time. But I'll tell you this, if we don't try, then we can guarantee we are going to see something like this happen over and over and over again. And I don't know about you, but I've had enough.
OK. Esther, the government has been in lockstep, as indeed have Labour, with America, saying, you know, that the time was not right for a ceasefire. I mean, Joe Biden is saying now extending the truce is America's goal, to keep this pause going beyond tomorrow. Is the government's position changing along with that?
Well, I think we are all pleased there is a pause. We're pleased that hostages are being handed over. We're pleased that humanitarian aid is getting
not
into
to northern Gaza.
Not
to my family. I just need to point that out. It's not getting to everywhere at all.
And you'll be closer to that than I am. But we need to make sure that aid is going in and that people can leave.
But Israel is saying at the moment, as I say, as we're broadcasting now, it could change, that they're going to start fighting again tomorrow. Now, America seems to be shifting its position, saying, actually, that's not what we want to see. Are you shifting your position?
we've called for, which there needs to be, these breaks, these
we've
stops.
got one of those. I'm
and
talking
we
about
have,
from
and
tomorrow.
it's extended. But I think people as well need to look at the situation, and you can't just have a one-sided ceasefire. Hamas has got to surrender. The hostages have got to go free. And people also need to realise that Israel does have the right to defend itself. What happened there were the worst terrorist attacks Israel had ever had. What they did, the killing, the butchering of people, the taking of children. Hamas has done absolutely terrible things to its own people as well. They will have known there would have been a retaliation by the Israelis for what they did, and they've put their own people in harm's way by using their own civilians to protect the Hamas fighters and to protect their warring infrastructure.
Can I just say
absolutely
how deeply
awful.
offensive this is?
Awful.
Can I just say, please, can I say, my family have nothing to do with Hamas. Nothing. The family member of mine who died worked for the UN. His job was he was an engineer and he taught people how to fish. The idea that Hamas and going after Hamas allows collateral damage to the extent that we've seen in the Palestinian, innocent civilian Palestinian population as we've seen. And may I just say, I am as angry about that as I am about those hostages. Do you know some of those hostages were people who... There was an 85-year-old woman who had survived the Holocaust, who was in the peace camp. She was talking about the oppression that Palestinians feel. There is something about this that makes people want to pick sides. Can I just point out?
No,
and
no,
the government,
it's awful
let me finish.
on all
The government
sides.
has picked a side, and it feels that way to the Palestinian people, but you don't have to pick a side. You can stand with Israel and care about innocent civilians in Palestine. You can stand with Palestine and want the hostages and Hamas
how
gone.
are we going
At
to
the
get
moment,
Hamas
the government
to
is not
surrender?
saying that. They're saying pick a side, and I disagree.
OK, all right.
How do we
Zoe,
get
OK.
Hamas to surrender?
Zoe.
Yeah, I mean, the pictures that we are seeing in the news are just absolutely horrific and abhorrent, and more than any other conflict of our recent time, this one seems to be affecting children and the elderly and the completely innocent in such an awful way. And I completely agree with you, Leila. You know, it's very odd to have to pick a side in this situation when innocent people are being killed left, right and centre. None of this is right. Hamas have been in power for, what, 14 years? They were, you know, many of the people who are being killed in Gaza at the moment have never voted for them. It's not their choice. It's not what they want. It's not what any of us want watching it on the television. We want the killing to stop on both sides. How you do that is incredibly complicated.
OK, let's hear a bit from ours. Yes, the one about the blonde hair, yeah.
Yeah, Esther, I find it so upsetting hearing you say that about Israel has the right to defend itself. Of course it has the right to defend itself. Nobody's going to say what Hamas did was ever acceptable or OK. But nor is going in the way that Israel have gone in now, with impunity, complete impunity, from the US and from the UK, starving out children. The amount of children and women that have died in this conflict, there are war crimes that are happening. And our governments, it feels like they are siding, you know, with Israel. You're right, we should not be picking sides in this, but absolutely, what has Israel got over the UK and the US that is allowing this to happen? Because it's horrendous.
A man a little bit further forward, yeah. Yes, you, sir.
8,000 children. 8,000 children dead. 1.5 million people displaced from the north to the south in one of the most densely congested regions of the world. This is not proportionate whatsoever, and no conflict of this sort has ever resulted in the long-term benefit of a nation. There has to be a plan for the day after, and at the moment that's not taking place whatsoever.
OK, let me take one final point from the man over there in the glasses, yeah.
Hi. You know, I hear this a lot on people like you guys talking about it, that Israel has the right to defend. And never I have heard this question, where is the right of the Palestinian to defend? Why is the Palestinian not have that right to defend? Why is our government standing behind Israel and Hamas, I believe that they are a terrorist organization. So is IDF. But full support is given to them. You guys fund
And you're
the
calling the
tanks.
Israeli Defence Force,
Yes.
their national army, you're calling it a terrorist organisation.
They are.
I mean, there are a
because-
lot of people who take great offence at that.
Because they will do. They are doing the exactly same thing.
What, as Hamas abducting hostages?
If you look at the proportion of the people who got killed on the 7th, for the last 75 years, I do not defend Hamas. I am not part of them. I will never ever defend any person killing anybody. But what I hear is the amount, the way you guys also describe it. Guardian only a week ago described the Israeli hostages released, which Israeli children released from this truce, but Palestinian people under the age of 18 released. Mm-hmm. That was how you describe it. This is exactly where I come back, is that the Palestinian are people, they have the right to defend, or they have a right to get a second state.
The point you're making very clear is you think there's a double standard there.
Double standard.
Andrew.
You know, Western governments, British government, whatever, they can call for a ceasefire if they want, and they may get one for a short while, but it won't make any difference. There is no military solution to this, and there is no political solution either. The two-state scenario is dead. I used to support it. It's dead. And if it wasn't dead, it died on May the 7th. The Arab states don't even want a two-state solution.
What's the alternative?
There is no alternative. That's the problem. Not every problem has a solution. Sometimes things just have to play out in the most horrific way. The Palestinians in Gaza elected Hamas in 2005. Hamas then abandoned elections, and there's not been one since. The Hamas is already regrouping in the south. The leadership has said that we can't wait to do October the 7th again. We'll try it again the moment we have the guns and the arm to do so. If there were elections on the West Bank, Hamas would now win.
That's not...
Which is why... Oh, I've seen it. And it is why... It's why there are no elections. There can be no two-state solution when you've got Hamas in control of Gaza, a terrorist organisation, and a corrupt gerontocracy of the Palestinian Authority on the West Bank.
But Andrew, we cannot
let Andrew answer.
We cannot give up hope.
It is, well, sometimes there is no hope. You know, at 7:40 this morning, at a bus stop in Jerusalem, 3 people were gunned down by 2 Hamas terrorists. This is during a ceasefire. Pause. 3 were, hold on. 3 were gunned down. Fortunately, there was an off-duty IDF soldier who was armed, and he took the 2 Hamas terrorists out. They were armed with enough to go on a massive killing spree if they hadn't been shot. We learned today that the young autistic girl who was taken hostage was too much trouble for Hamas. Too much trouble. The one that J.K. Rowling, because she loved Harry Potter, the one that J.K. Rowling tried to intervene and ask for mercy for, they killed her. We learned that a young girl with cerebral palsy on a wheelchair was too much trouble as well, particularly down the tunnels. They killed her. Yeah. How you can deal or have a political solution with that when the purpose of Hamas is the destruction of Israel? Israel is often its own worst enemy, and we've seen that. I understand that. I see that. But when you're up against basically a Nazi-type regime that is out to destroy you because you're Jewish, that's why they want to destroy you.
So the question, Andrew, is...
How can you deal with people like that?
OK, Andrew, hang on a sec. The question, is it time to call for a permanent ceasefire?
Yeah, as I said, you can call if you want, but there won't be one.
OK. Steve?
Well, I mean, what we all want, what everyone wants, is for this horrific war to end. I'll never accept that you have to abandon hope. Any problem on this earth that is created by human beings can be fixed by human beings with the right will to get in there and sort that out. Any problem created by human beings can be fixed by human beings. We cannot give up hope for the sake of the Israelis and the Palestinians. We can't give up hope. Now, I think where we've seen some hope is in this truce, this cessation of the fighting that has lasted these past few days and has been extended several times. That is a hopeful sign. And I don't forget, as others in the audience have said...
And are you calling for it to be extended now as Labour?
Well, I hope there will be an extension of it for as long as it can possibly be extended.
Is that the official position?
No one in the room here, no one has forgotten how this started, which was on October the 7th, that
Yeah,
horrific
as
incursion
has already
by
talked about.
Hamas terrorists into Israel. The biggest slaughter of Jewish people since the Holocaust. That's what started this. Everyone has condemned that, and that is absolutely right. Today, the leader of Hamas, one of the senior leaders, Yahya Sinwar, said that October the 7th was just a rehearsal. That is what that man said, the leader of the Hamas
I know, but
terrorists
see,
said
no
that.
one here is defending Hamas.
No one.
So there's no question, I think, among everyone here, that what Hamas did was, A, unspeakable and terrible, and that they're an organisation that people want to see the back
problem
of.
we've got
but beyond
is
that, where do we go from here?
For as long as Hamas are saying that if they get the chance, they will do it again, Israel will keep going in to try and remove their capability to get in and do the things they are saying they're doing. Now, we're at the moment of hope. I fully appreciate that you've got a personal connection with this, and I don't want to talk over you, but where there is a moment of hope is in that pause that has allowed more aid in, has stopped the bombing of Gaza, stopped the killing of people. And Israel's right to defend itself cannot mean a blank cheque. That has been extended for a number of days so far. In that space, there is the opportunity for more conversation on both sides and pressure from the outside world to stop it. Now, I think there's a vindication in this of the position taken by President Biden and others in the Western world who did not say to Israel, you do not have the right to defend yourself, which is what some have said. By getting Israel's ear, they have listened and there has been this pause. What we need to do now is seize that pause and use that moment to extend it for as long as we possibly can, because the only solution to this problem cannot be military, because everyone will end up dead. It can only be possible. It's only possible. It's only possible through a political solution. And we have to have the space to start having those conversations to allow that permanent peace.
What we are finding here
is
are two sets of narratives, right? You've got, on the one hand, Hamas saying these horrific things, and I've said very clearly they need to be gone. But on the other side, you've also got ministers, senior ministers, finance ministers, interior ministers in Netanyahu's government saying that they're going to drop nuclear bombs on Gaza. The way I see this is this. And Andrew, I have hope. And I would put it to you that it's more important that the Palestinians and the Israelis have hope than you do. We have to solve this. And the way we solve it is we move away from a narrative of the extremes, which is where we are now, of people fighting to raise their rhetoric one above the other. These men who have decided that they're going to base their careers on it. It's now in Netanyahu's interest to keep this going, and it's certainly in Hamas's interest not to be out. And there are people in the world who do have influence, and we've seen that because we've got this truce and it is being extended slowly, slowly. If Britain decided to back a bilateral is important, ceasefire, and then encouraged America, we have a special relationship, let's use it, and encourage America to do it, we might well start that process. But we have to know where we're going to end up. Ceasefire is not peace, and peace is not just the absence of war. If we want to not see this again, we need to get to the point where both peoples feel the absence of fear. That is how we get to peace, and we have to start now.
The woman there in the pink shirt and the glasses, yes.
Andrew, I think you're the most rational person there on the stage right now talking about the situation in Gaza and Israel. But my question is towards all of you guys. Do you think it's time... I don't think Britain or the US have a good track record about foreign relations around the world, e.g. Syria, and weapons of mass destructions. Do you think it's time to absolve our responsibilities and duties around the world, and to just not be involved in the Middle East crisis, just to stop being involved in their country's policies and their country's duties, and to just absolve our duties inside their countries?
So just say, over to you.
Yeah, over to you.
Sort it out.
Yeah, sort it out.
OK. I'll come back to one of you to answer that. Yes, there's a woman here, second row back. Yes. Let's get a microphone to you. Yeah.
Hi. Based on that note, well, I'm wondering, I mean, technically, I would normally disagree with what the lady behind me just said, but I think when our Prime Minister is promoting local coffee shops on his Instagram and social medias to millions of people and stuff like this is going on, we might as well, as Britain, and as a Palestinian, by the way, but as Britain, we might as well actually stand back because I don't think there's enough being done from our politicians that do have the platform.
So, Andrew, given that you think there's no hope, do you agree with that?
For the foreseeable future. I mean, there's always hope in the longer term.
But do you agree with the young woman there to think, well, actually, there is no hope, so a plague on all your houses?
I mean, I agree with the lady in the audience in that Britain should not overestimate its influence in this situation. It really doesn't have very much at all, which probably doesn't matter because we don't know what to do either. The problem I have with this is if you're going to try to move to some kind of peace process, and I've covered many peace processes, and by the way, the Palestinians had opportunities for what now looks like a wonderful peace agreement. At one stage, you could have all of Gaza and 90% of the West Bank.
You're talking about the Oslo Accords?
Yeah, and they turned it down.
I'll have to ask you quite quick, because we're nearly out of time.
But the problem is, it takes two to tango. And at the moment, who are you going to talk to in Gaza? Who are you going to talk? Because I tell you this, if anybody who's not Hamas talks to us, talks to the Israelis, they'll be thrown off the nearest highest building the moment Hamas gets a hold of them. It's an impossible situation for people of goodwill in Gaza to show any political power at all.
So are you OK with what's happening? I mean, this is...
obviously I'm OK.
No,
the killing is just wonderful. What a stupid question to ask me.
Excuse me.
Of course I'm not OK with it. It's horrific. It's horrific.
Well, then what,
but I'm trying
what are you offering?
I'm trying to point to the realpolitik of the situation.
Hang on. I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to stop you, because we are actually over time, so forgive me. This won't be the only time that... Hang on. We're talking about Gaza. This is not going to be... And Israel. This will not be the last time we come to this subject. I know you want to say more, Layla, forgive me, but we are out of time.
I'm just in shock.
I just want to say... We'll come back to this subject. Our hour is up. Thank you very much to the panel. Thank you to all of you for coming here and being part of our audience. It's been great to see you. And, of course, thank you to you at home for watching. And remember, as always, if after the 10 o'clock news is too late for you, we're on iPlayer at 8 o'clock. But from Question Time for this week, bye-bye.